Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq, with daily insight on the Nasdaq-100 Index, or the NDX, which is made up of 100 of the largest domestic and international non-financial innovative companies listed right here on the Nasdaq stock market. The NDX has been the barometer for U.S. large-cap growth and also one of the best-performing indexes over the last decade and a half, not to mention one of the most liquid index ecosystems in the world. Joining us today, we have Tom White. He's managing editor at the TD Ameritrade Network to join us with some earnings, as many of the Nasdaq-100 heavyweights are set to report their quarterly metrics this week. Tom, it's great to have you with us, first time on the show. Let's take a look at our first chart here with an overview of the Nasdaq-100 index.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jill. And yeah, I think it was a key level today. We filled that gap back from about mid-March lows in the Nasdaq-100, or mid to late March lows that we saw. And the Nasdaq did get back up to that 89.20 level, and it failed there again. We've seen some weakness in some of the bigger large cap FANG plus names ahead of their earnings reports this week. So I think this key level of 89.20 is a big one for the Nasdaq. And, you got to remember, we're still only about 10% off of all-time highs, despite, deterioration of a lot of the economic data and, guidance getting cut from a lot of these companies ahead of earnings. So this will be a key level, I think, moving forward here over the next few days.
All right, let's take a look at one of our charts, AMD, certainly one of the heavyweights in the Nasdaq-100, set to report earnings after the close, and it seems like this could really be a catalyst for the tech sector.
Yeah, you know what? I think you're right there, Jill. And if you looked at Intel's earnings after they reported, really good bullish sentiment after they reported, and then as the day went on, pre-market, we actually started seeing a lot of selling in there, even though it was a pretty good report. AMD is just a couple of bucks below its all-time highs there at just above $59. And I think this is going to be a key metric, but I think you have to look at guidance. They'll probably cut guidance and they'll retract their guidance like a lot of companies are doing. But this might be the best it gets for AMD. A lot of people working from home, having to set up their laptops, their networks at home, but they're expecting a lot out of this company, and it could set the tone. If we break through that 59.27 high that we saw in February, we could be off to the races there, and this could provide that catalyst that maybe some of these tech names need to get back towards their all-time highs that we saw in mid-February. But this is going to be a key report. It should be as good or better than Intel's, but we'll have to wait and see what kind of softness or weakness that they're seeing moving forward into the latter stages of 2020 as this pandemic has kind of cut a lot of CapEx spending, but expect some decent numbers out of AMD after the close today.
All right, and let's wrap it up here with taking a look at small caps, trying to play catch up here.
Yeah, you know what? The Russell 2000 has been the leader this week. It's up nearly 6% on the week, Jill. Outperformed the Nasdaq and the S&P 500 and the Dow Jones Industrial. We've got the Nasdaq, down about 0.5%. So Russell, there's a lot of financials in there, and I think that's taken the lead here in that particular sector, along with the energy names in the Russell. But if you overlay that Nasdaq and Russell, the Russell's trying to play catch up, and the Nasdaq's hitting that 89.20 level that I talked about earlier, and I think that's a big key level for that. But if we can see some some consistency out of the Russell, where it starts to play catch up with the other major indices, that actually could provide a boost to the overall market, because we always talk about the financials have to participate in a market rally, and they just haven't this year. They've underperformed. But Russell 2000, it's got a higher beta. It moves a little bit more than the overall market does on a daily basis, if you take a look at that. But I think this is a real key. If it does not play catch up, we get a rollover in this Nasdaq, and Nasdaq falls from this 89.20 level. That could, cause some concern for the Russell 2000 over the next couple sessions.
All right, Tom, thanks so much for joining us on Trade Talks.
Thank you.
All right, and thanks for joining me. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.